Hi, I'm Kevin Godburn, Westport Youth Services Director, and I'm here with Margaret Watt, the Prevention Director for Positive Directions, the Center for Prevention and Counseling here in Westport. We're here to talk to you a little bit today about what you should know about today's marijuana. In this presentation, we're going to mostly refer to it as cannabis, which is the legal term in Connecticut. However, as you can see on this slide, it goes by many different names, and they're all pretty much interchangeable. Now, this past spring, we had an opportunity to survey a representative sample of students from Westport in grades 7 through 12. Next, we're going to take a look at some of that data.
So here's the first snapshot of the data. Our middle schoolers and high school students were asked about the use of these 5 substances on the screen. And as you can see, the vast majority of youth are not using alcohol and other drugs, which is great to see. Substance use primarily seems to start around 9th grade and grows slowly until senior year, with the exception of alcohol, which does become more than half of our seniors. The orange line here is cannabis, and across grades 7 through 12, it was an average of 10% of Westport youth who were using cannabis. Here's that 10% figure again. And on this slide, what we want you to see is the difference in the percent of youth who use cannabis when they think that it's harmful versus the percent of youth who use when they think it isn't dangerous. So awareness of risk reduces youth across all substances. In addition, our data found that parents and peers' opinions really matter. Here's the 10% of kids overall who are using cannabis, but it's only 5% of youth who believe their parents disapprove. However, it's 38% of youth who believe their parents don't disapprove, or maybe just don't care, or their parents have never talked to them about it or sent any messages. In fact, last December, we did focus groups with teens and parents, and they both agreed that cannabis is not particularly discussed in families, not like alcohol and other drugs, and that families seem to think that cannabis isn't particularly harmful. That's a message kids reported hearing. Meanwhile, they're hearing from some of their peers that maybe it's a good way to cope with stress, and also that it's easy to get on Snapchat. So parents monitor social media. All of us are getting messages from the cannabis industry everywhere that it's recreational, it's medicinal, and even that it's natural. Is this really the best way that we can find to spend our recreational time, though? Now, is today's cannabis actually natural? Well, sure, there's still a plant out there, but as you'll see, it is not what it was in nature. It's been genetically engineered over time. In addition, today, many people are using cannabis in the form of these concentrates that you see at the bottom of the screen, where, as the name implies, they've been made stronger and stronger. When I say they are stronger, I'm talking about the THC content in the cannabis plant. THC is the psychoactive ingredient that gets you high, that can cause anxiety and paranoia, and that is addictive. Let's see how it's changed over time. In the 1970s, THC content was 1%. By 2019, the plant was 23% THC. That year, the Surgeon General warned that it was bad for the teen brain. We didn't used to have concentrates. By 2019, they were 76% pure THC. And since then, they've become up to 95% THC when kids are dabbing, for example. The new Connecticut law does set caps on the plant and concentrate products, but you should know that 10% THC is associated with psychosis. What does the plant look like today? We still have plant products. We now have these concentrates. They're called dabs, wax, shatter, oils. There are food and beverage edibles, which will be legal for sale next year in Connecticut. And there are edibles that are illegal in Connecticut because they are made to look like other snacks unless you look closely. Why does this matter? Because cannabis affects so many systems of the human body. Number one, you need to know that it affects teen brain development. 1 in 6 teens who uses cannabis becomes addicted. Also 1 in 10 adults. Teens who use 2 to 4 times a week lose 6 to 8 IQ points permanently and have dramatically increased chances of developing psychosis associated with cannabis. It exacerbates anxiety, creates paranoia and suicide, and has these other impacts on the brain, which also mean driving under the influence is never going to be safe, not for cannabis, not for alcohol. It impairs judgment, vision, motor control.
So what are some of the takeaways? First, have those conversations. This is a screen grab from a promotional ad for a mobile app called Talk They Hear You. There it'll have information, resources, and conversation starters to have those talks as a family. Second, if you have it at home, treat it like you would alcohol or prescription drugs and lock it up. Reduce access and add that barrier.